Hey guys, thanks for coming back to my channel. I am back with an IVF update, but first, can we give it up to show that the shrinkage is so real? Like, that is kind of ridiculous. But anywho, I believe the last time I posted, I was headed to surgery for the removal of the polyp in my uterus. And that surgery went relatively well, no complications. I've been off for the last 2 weeks recovering, and that time was so necessary to not only recover, but to mentally slow down and be away from work and be able to take time to do some self-care and things like that. So I really appreciate my doctor for that, and also my job for allowing me to step back, and they kind of, took care of everything. So I go back to work tomorrow. And but back to the surgery. It went well. The cavity is now all nice and ready to receive a embryo. And we were supposed to originally do the surgery 2 to 3 weeks after that, put the embryo in. But because IVF likes to throw curveballs at you, and it's rarely a straightforward process, there is another curveball. And so while my doctor was in there, she saw that my endometriosis is back, and I will do a whole nother video on that. But my endometriosis is back, and that means that the scar tissue, the endometriomas, the adhesions, all of these things that go along with endometriosis, it's present in the area that she saw. She also did an HSG, and just a quick reminder, that is where she was looking at my fallopian tubes to make sure that they are not holding fluid, or to make sure that they are nice and free and clear. My left fallopian tube was just fine. However, my right fallopian tube, it was tortuous, meaning that it was twisted and not nice and straight. It spilled the dye a little bit slower than the left, and it was also collecting some of the dye. Now that is important to note because you want your fallopian tubes to be like a nice straw. There's not holding any liquid or anything like that. It's not twisted or bent or anything. Because the fluid that it can collect, or if it does start collecting fluid, that fluid can turn toxic and either be a toxic environment for the embryo, or it can kind of regurgitate or flow back into the uterus and wash out the embryo. And that's kind of important because we're about to put a embryo in there. So that brings us to kind of a full stop. We are going to go into another surgery to remove the right fallopian tube. And I went and saw my GYN doctor, who initially diagnosed me with endometriosis and did my first surgery to remove the endometriomas, the cysts that were in the ovaries. And he, it was really good to get back to him because he's like, I'm glad she caught it, because something like this can significantly or drastically affect your ability to have a successful implantation, or to keep the implantation or the embryo in the uterus. So I'm very happy to have a doctor who's knowledgeable about that. He is going to really try to get me in before the end of the year, because the specialist that my fertility doctor referred me to, they didn't have any appointments until February 2020. And like I said, our original plan was to 3 weeks from this first surgery put in the embryo, and I would have known if I was pregnant by Thanksgiving or a little bit after Thanksgiving. And so that definitely changes the timeline, because in addition to having another surgery, we have to, of course, recover. But then also Lewis and I are considering doing another step called the ERA. And that is a procedure where they take a biopsy or a sample of your uterine lining, and it's supposed to evaluate the best or the optimal time to transfer the embryo. Still a lot of research to be done on it. It's not really evidence-based, because I guess the little research that they've done so far hasn't really shown much of a benefit. But I think for anybody going through this process, if you have the opportunity to throw all of the safe interventions at this thing, you're going to do it. The not only the physical toll that it takes on your body, just the emotional toll. And at the end of the day, you know, we only have 2 embryos. Put down in the comments below what you think the gender of the embryos are. But even if we had like 20 embryos, we would still take every precaution, because one, just because you have an embryo doesn't mean you'll have a successful, you know, you'll have a baby. And that's just being realistic. But also, because you can possibly have a baby, you want to make sure you're putting it in the best environment and doing everything possible. So I'm going to use this time as a little bit more of a grace period to just really focus on taking care of myself nutritionally, emotionally, physically. I've been cleared to go back to work. I can get back in the gym, really trying to make sure that I am eating and drinking throughout the day. I drive all over Houston for my current job, and I'm not really good at taking care of myself during the day. And so maybe this is God giving me a little bit of a reprieve to say, hey, you got a little bit more time to start really building those healthy habits. And so that's what I'm going to use this time as time for. I'm also going to, you know, continue to take care of myself mentally. Like I said, not only physically does this do a number to you, but emotionally. I mean, I'm so blessed. My husband is amazing. God has been a rock. My mom, my dad, my family, my friends, like I have a great support group, but it's nothing like walking through the journey yourself, you know. You just don't know until you're actually in it, and when you start, you're all excited and you're like, yes, yes, yes. But as those roadblocks or little hills or curveballs come at you, it just it deflates you. You're always in a constant state of expectation or a little bit of sadness. And I can't recall her name, but in the next video I'll put it in the description box. But I believe her blog is called The Broken Brown Egg, but she's an African-American woman who has gone through the whole fertility journey and has become an advocate for it. But not until I read her article in the New York Times did I really have a way to articulate how I was feeling with the emotional side of it. And it's just this constant state of stress, right? And it's not on purpose, but that's just the way it goes. You're up and you're down and you're constantly hoping, but then you're constantly reminded of that you're not there yet. Whether that's by a friend getting pregnant or just walking past a bunch of pregnant women like I did the other day. It's just a little jarring mentally or emotionally, but there's always something to be grateful for. And I have started my gratitude journal. I have goals and my intentions for November that I'm going to focus on, and I'm just glad that I can, you know, share my story, especially as an African American woman. We have so many health disparities anyway. This is yet another forum that we don't really either know about or talk about. It's hush hush. You have this misconception that all Black women are fertile women, and that's just not the truth. So being able to use this as a platform to share my story, but also just as a way to not vent, but it's kind of cathartic, just kind of sharing with others how you're feeling or talking it out. So I will bring you guys in on the next surgery update. Hopefully I'll be hearing from my doctor this week as far as the planning of the date. And hopefully I can get Mr. Booth in. You guys saw him briefly give me one of my injections, but it's not just me going through it. It's my incredible husband who also is walking with me in this journey. And so keep us in your prayers. Got any questions, comments, leave them below. Remember to also put in there what you think the gender of our 2 embryos are. Until next time, I hope everyone has an awesome, amazing, blessed week, and I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.